Hey, I jotted down a note earlier when you were speaking about the constant evolution of the business models within the healthcare industry. And you mentioned how the individuals who helped organizations get to where they are today are not necessarily the people they need in order to move forward. What is your message to some of those professionals who may find themselves displaced as the industry continues to evolve?
Some of them are still in jobs. Some of them have seen their jobs disappear. And I don't want to give the impression that this is like 3 out of 4 people. It's not that drastic. But I'm saying that the new model is creating demand for new skill sets and therefore new people is one of the factors that drove some of the demand. But the people who are finding themselves on the wrong side of that, some of them are retiring, some of them are looking for the next thing. And I always tell people that have been laid off or people that feel like they're hitting a wall and feel like they don't know what to do. A lot of people are like deer in headlights when it's time to change jobs. Like, how do I do this? And I try to encourage them. I try to tell them it's probably going to turn out for the better. Most times when people make a job change, whether it's voluntary or involuntary, they end up in a better spot. In fact, when COVID first started, I posted an article on LinkedIn. It's basically a job hunting article with a list of tips. And one of them, I think the first one was just believe that you have the ability to make this change. You're not necessarily a victim, even though you feel like it, maybe. You can take control of this. And then I go on to talk about different ways of doing it. But the thing that I keep encouraging people is there's a lot of demand out there for people. There's a lot of demand for what you have to offer. So get excited about it, follow a plan, build a plan and follow a plan. Time doesn't allow me to get into all this right here and now. I would encourage people to read the article that's featured on my LinkedIn profile, but it's a series of job hunting tips. And then really pursue it methodically and have fun with it. Enjoy it because you'll interview better when you feel good about yourself. That's one of the key things people don't realize. How you feel comes across in an interview. So be upbeat, believe in yourself, look forward to the next thing. I don't know, Pat, did I answer your question or did I go off on a tangent?
Not only did you answer it with tactical advice, but I gotta say, Jim, it was almost inspirational. And I think there are a lot of people out there who need to hear that and need to hear words of encouragement when it comes to their job hunt. Because when I go through my LinkedIn feed every day, I see more and more news about people being laid off or people who are just ready to make a career change on their own. However, they're not sure where to get started, they're not sure what direction to go down. So, yes, you answered my question. This was super helpful. Thank you very much.
I can elaborate if you want me to. I have a few more points on that topic.
Yeah, all ears.
Okay. I have conversations with people just about every week who are starting to test the waters, starting to think maybe it's time for my next thing. Or, hey, my company just got bought. They brought in a new team. I'm on the outs. Or any variation of that. And they call me to talk about what do I do next? What's the market look like? What do you have? What are you working on? That kind of a thing. And I give the same response all the time. First of all, like most recruiters, we're working on a small number of assignments at any point in time. So unless we're working on something that's a very good fit for your background, we can't really help you other than keeping our eyes open for something. So in other words, going to a recruiter, while it's good to get the word out there, it's a pretty inefficient means of getting your next job because it's hit or miss. And more often than not, it's going to be miss. The best way to, in my opinion, the best way to find a job is to, first of all, clear your head. So if you have an event like you got laid off, clear your head so that you can think right about this. And when you talk to people, you can sound right about it and you don't want to sound bitter. So clear your head and then think about, start with the personal brand. And this is interesting because the higher up the food chain somebody is, the greater the tendency to have done many different things. And so they're almost a utility player, almost a chameleon. They can do operations, they can do business development, they can do strategy, they can even do finance maybe. And I tell them that's ironically working against you because people have trouble trying to figure out, where can I fit this woman in my organization? What is she? It's easier for them to put a label on you. And it's easier for me as a recruiter to put a label on you. You're an operations executive. You're a strategy executive. You're the guy that comes in and builds the sales team from ground up. It's a lot easier when I can think of you. It may not be fair, but it's the practical reality. It's easier if I can think of you that way. So if you buy that premise, think about, what are the 1, 2, maybe 3 things that you can do well and that you enjoy doing. Let's say there are 2 of them. Then have 2 different versions of your resume. Have 2 different versions of all your documentation, your outreach, emails and letters, your scripts if you're leaving voicemails for people, but have 2 different versions, and each version screams that one type of role. And then think about, okay, if I'm going to do operations, what kind of company do I want to do that for? Am I looking for one of the big ones? Am I looking for a pre-Series A so that I can get in on the ground floor and get equity and maybe have a big paycheck a few years down the road? Or does that level of risk scare me and I want something that is a little further along, a Series B, where some of the risk has been run out of it? So what kind of company do I want to work for? And then who are those companies? And if you think about it, you probably can start building your list off the top of your head. But then you can do things like go to trade show exhibitor pages. And usually there's a list of companies that are involved, and they're usually categorized. And then you can start thinking about that. And then you can go on LinkedIn. And that can be a rabbit hole, but that's so full of useful information if you can approach it with some discipline. And so you just keep building this list. And you might have 175 companies that you want to target. And then the next step, obviously, is, all right, who are these people? If I am looking for a position at a Series A company, what person am I going to typically report to? Is it the CEO? Is it somebody else? What person is likely to be the person I'll report to? Okay, now I can go to company websites, I can go back to LinkedIn, but I start to attach names to that list of companies. Now I've got a list of people that I want to hit on. And I've got an outreach message, a note that tells them how strong I am in this area that I'm targeting. And go at them directly. You can get to them through LinkedIn. You can get to them through groups that you might share on LinkedIn. You can get to them sometimes directly through the company, but go at them and just treat it like a job in itself. Just be very systematic about it. It's a lot of work, but it's not hard. It's just a lot of work. It's not rocket science. And most importantly, it does work. And I've seen people end up with a choice of 2 or 3 opportunities simply because they approached it that way and they were very diligent about it and they just kept their foot on the pedal.